I'm Greg Nelson, and I'm here today on one of our job sites here in Pinellas County, Florida. And we figured we'd do a video to show you some of the things that you can run into during a remodel. So the number one thing that you're probably going to run into when doing a remodel is going to be unforeseen conditions. Obviously, nobody has X-ray vision. And you can't see through walls, and when you're dealing with an existing structure, there's always going to be a certain degree of things that you're going to uncover when you start removing things. On this particular project, we're doing an extensive remodel that's about north of 6,000 square feet. This home, we're going to be taking off the whole roof and putting on a new roof because this client wants to extend the height of the outer walls so they have higher ceiling heights. Therefore, all the interior walls are going to come out. But there's a certain amount of design work structurally that still has to happen because we don't know what's inside the walls and what the new roof system will be able to bear on top of. So for instance, here you can see you've got this big concrete beam here going across and it's sticking down. Now, we already knew that this was going to be, an issue because it's sticking down and we want everything sticking up so that we have higher ceiling heights and you don't see any beams coming across. And currently this is a bearing point for trusses, but it's not going to be there anymore. So we have to, we're go, okay, good. There's a tie beam here. We're going to have to cut it. We're going to have to put some kind of a different beam on there that's up higher. And we have to give all this information to our engineer. So this is an unforeseen condition to some degree because we kind of knew it was going to be in this spot in the house, but there's other areas that will show you where there's tie beams and we're going to have to get rid of them so that we can do what the customer wants us to do. Yeah, so another thing you can run into a lot, especially in Florida, is you can run into mold, which is bad. And you get mold anytime, and I'm not a mold expert, but I've been in Florida for over 25 years doing construction and remodels. And anytime you have a kind of a tropical climate where you have hot, moist air, you have dampness and it's dark and it's hot in a wall cavity, and it continues to be moist in there, you'll have mold growth to some degree. If it's under 100 square feet, as a general contractor, we usually just take care of it. If it's more than that, then we get it professionally abated, like removed by a certified mold guy. But in this house, you'll notice we took out some of the walls and we got a little bit of mold here. It's not that bad. I know that there's like hundreds of different kinds of mold. There's only about, I think, 30 of them that are really dangerous to humans. That's kind of black. It's an unforeseen condition. If you were just doing a remodel in here, this would be kind of like oh boy, because we don't know how much is behind the actual studs, and we'd need to scrub it and clean it and maybe have be a change order to remove the drywall. But in this job, everything's going. The whole inside of this house is getting gutted. So we're not worried about it. We're just going to remove all this. It's going in the dumpster. It'll be fine. I don't think I've ever worked on a house that we didn't uncover some form of previous or pre-existing or current active termite damage. Everything's been pretty good in this whole house. I haven't seen much, but as you can see here, we got 1, 2, 3 studs with some serious termite damage. As you can see, the wormholes in here, this is not dry rot, this is termite damage. And one can put his hand on here. And that's your 2x4. So that's obvious termite damage. Not really a big deal. You take a pry bar, and you remove that stud, and you put a new one on there. Not the end of the world. Some people freak out about it. There's no live termites in here. It's handled, and then it's handled. Another thing you can run into is improper building practices by previous contractors. Again, on this project, everything is going in here, all these interior walls, so we're not really worried about it. But this is a good example. You got the old exterior brick wall. They furred it out with studs, and they didn't fur it out anymore. They just left it here, and they notched them, and they've got this. This is your old dryer duct from the laundry room over there, going all the way out to the outside of the house, and they smashed it so that the drywall could get by it, and it's not even in all the way, so there was probably a bit of a roll in the drywall here, like this. But that's not good, because if you get a drywall screw or anything in here, now you've got hot air and lint going into your wall cavity, and not to mention the fact that it's restricting the airflow out to the outside of the house. The way to handle that would have been to just fur out the wall with 1 or 2 more furring strips, or use 2x4s, and then you could have had a nice solid duct, or go through the roof. Yeah, so like in this area, you can see that this wall, this opening is we call this the throat size, is really thick. It's not like a 2x4 wall. It's all the way consistent. And if you follow around the house, inside this back part of the house, you've got this thick throat size. So we know that this used to be an exterior wall. And then when you come into this room here and you stand on this floor slab, you probably can't see it on the camera, but there's quite an elevation discrepancy where this gets lower here, and it wasn't feathered in flush properly with the existing house slab. And it's very obvious that all of this part of the house was added on later on. So you've got a slight pitch going down this way, which is normal for an exterior deck because you want water to shed away from the house. But if you're making it interior heated square footage, you need to take it the extra mile, put some self-leveling compound, level it up, flush it with the house, because no matter what you do, if you just put carpet on here or wood flooring, you're going to feel something's going on when you're in here, you know, and you're walking around with your glass of wine, you're going to notice it. Also, because these walls are so thick, it's like a porthole going in from this room to this room, and it's low, and they should have taken it the extra mile, which we're going to do now, and move these things out wider, which is actually pretty easy to do because this is a concrete beam here, and it's just block infilled from the old exterior wall. So the block's not holding any of this up here. They could have opened this up quite a bit wider, and you know, now we're going to be moving these, taking these beams out of here. There's concrete beams all the way through the house that we're uncovering now, all got to come out, and we're going to do what's called an upset beam, which is a beam that sets up into the ceiling, and then your trusses or joists bucket onto the sides of them. And the end product is that you'll now have a ceiling that carries all the way through instead of a beam sticking down, which is something we always try to do on any remodel where there's an addition involved, because you don't want to come in the house and you don't want it to look like a Band-Aid, like a patch job. You want it to feel like it was the original house, and it doesn't feel like that. Even somebody that doesn't know much about construction or remodeling can come in this house and this feels weird. You know, this is another good example of, you know, kind of poor design in this house. You know, you've got this bedroom here. This used to be the bedroom. And again, we've got this big, thick wall. This is the throat size, which continues all the way through to that other side of the house. And this used to be the porch. And they did this addition. They added all the square foot on the back of the house previously. But it looks like a porthole. Literally, it's a little opening. It's like this, you know, and then you come in here and it's another hole. It seems like another room, but it's supposed to be one big room, you know. Additionally, you have a step in the floor, so you have an elevation discrepancy from the old porch slab to the house slab, and it's pitched, and you just notice it. So that wasn't corrected. It would have been very easy to take these blocks. As you can see, this is just block right here with furring on it. It would have been very easy to just bring the block all the way back here and all the way back there, because we've seen in the other room that they have continuous concrete solid tie beams all the way across, which are bearing at certain points, but they could have opened this up all the way. One of the reasons that's why we started doing design build is because, you know, we would go and we would come to it, we would bid on a project, and the customer had some drawings done by an architect who didn't really think it through, or maybe it wasn't even an architect, it was just somebody that was just drafting up some plans so that a permit could be pulled. And they weren't really thinking with the flow of the house and what things are going to look like. And, you know, this is obviously was just somebody's idea and they didn't draw it or visualize it first. So by doing design build, you can actually, you know, get the layout done, do some elevations and envision it before you make a mistake and spend money and realize it's not really a, you know, think about how much more valuable this house would be if this whole room looked like one room. This is like a giant master bedroom, but instead it looks like two closets here, you know, and you've got the next room over is the same thing. And then you've got the living room into the back room, the same thing. So the beauty of doing design build is, you know, you get the planning done and then you move into the execution. We're here at Nelson Construction, firm believer in spending a few extra weeks or whatever it takes to get the planning perfect before we move into execution. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.